What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball. NBA Summer League is starting to wrap up. We actually have the championship game tomorrow, which should be excited. I'm going to try to watch that one. I haven't had a lot of time to watch some of these other games, but I still want to give you a report on who's been playing well and everything. We said we're going to do full coverage, so I want to talk about who's been kind of showing out here at the end of the season. But hey, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. Let's get into it. So we actually have one game in the consolation bracket kind of wrapping up here. So I kind of just want to take a little deep dive into this one, see what's kind of happening. Most of the players are kind of sitting out at this point for a lot of these if they're not rookies. So it looks like here for Houston, they don't even have Reed Shepherd going in this one. AJ Griffin has not had a great summer league, and that's been kind of a bummer to see. How about for Portland? Is it wrong that we didn't see Scoot Henderson at all in this? Is Scoot hurt? I don't think so. I honestly have no idea. Chris Murray, another one that hasn't been that great. Ryan Rupert has had a couple moments though, nonetheless. So my spreadsheet will probably update with this in, I don't know, a couple minutes anyway. But I've set aside a couple people that I do want to talk about over the last 2 days that have played well, that have also been playing well throughout the rest of Summer League. So that's who I want to start to highlight here. And I'm starting out with Boogie Ellis, another one of the USC trio of guards that's in this Summer League along with Bronny James and Collier, right? Who Boogie Ellis started off a little rough. Some people might have thought that he might go second round or something like that. Didn't end up getting really picked up, and I can kind of see why. He's another one of those prospects that looks incredibly raw, maybe hasn't quite figured out the game yet, but quietly had a pretty good summer league. What really impressed me, honestly, I never got the chance to speak with Boogie Ellis at all during the pre-draft interview at all or anything like that, but he was really impressive to me in those. You could tell he really knew what he wanted to do out there, especially on the defensive end. He's out there grinding each possession. I really appreciate him for that. So while we're only getting 10-ish points a game and we're not really getting much else out of him, I just wanted to commend kind of the efficiency and effort that I saw throughout the rest of Summer League, so I thought that was cool. Jalen Tyson, the Cavs rookie, I'll continue to say I'm not a huge fan of his individual game. I'm a fan of his effort at the end of the day. That's awesome, and I can't deny the dude's having a pretty good Summer League all said and done. It's not the most amount of shots ever. It's only 4 games, but still 61%, 40 from 3 again on 10 attempts, but still you can only take the shot or make the shots that you take. Was good from the free throw line and contributed in a lot of other areas. He crashed the glass really, really well. I don't think his ball dominant play style combined with his lack of athleticism, and I know we could say Luka Doncic or something like that, I just don't see that in him. I don't see enough different moves or anything like that are that polished to where this feels like a guy that's going to play well in Summer League and struggle in NBA play, but I hope he figures it out. I really do. I don't know. I haven't really seen it. Trey Alexander, been pretty impressed with Trey Alexander so far. So something that I've been kind of seeing from him is just his ability to kind of contribute wherever with or without the ball right now, which I think is a pretty cool thing. I think there has to be a little bit of hope for Denver fans that Trey Alexander can find his way into the rotation this year, right? Because yes, Russell Westbrook's on the team now, so you probably don't need him in that spot, but look, you're trying to find anything on the bench at this point, and Trey Alexander at least showed something. And like I say in all my videos, there's no direct correlation between Summer League play and NBA play. They could be playing really bad in Summer League and become all NBA style people, Jaylen Brown, or they could be playing really good and just kind of be ass when they get into the NBA. It's just a completely different style of play. It's just different, right? But Trey Alexander, good Summer League. We want to commend him for that, and maybe he finds a way into the rotation somehow. Jordan Ford bounced around in the lower levels of the NBA at points in his career. Not surprised to see him playing well. He's kind of one of those smaller offensive guards that can really pack a punch offensively. He's not really the best defensively. Usually kills it in the G League. He kind of excels in more of that faster paced system where it's getting up and down the court a little bit more, kind of like a Summer League. So not surprised to see him putting up the 50, 40, 90, and we're talking upper 50, 40, 90, which is really, really cool. Didn't really see him contribute in a lot of other places, but he kept the turnovers down. So nonetheless, I'm sure we're going to see Jordan Ford kind of be a really good G League player again. I don't know if he's on a two-way or not. Is AJ Lawson, does he still have a standard NBA contract? He does have a standard NBA contract. Okay, well, AJ Lawson, and this is kind of what you want to see out of him, is at least some solid Summer League play. The thing that's going to keep him off the court, besides the positional kind of backlog at the guard, but the lack of maybe 3-point shooting, that's something that we saw in the regular season at points, and maybe it's just he didn't get enough time on the court or something like that, but that's going to be the thing of how he cracks the rotation, right? Anybody that's going to be able to space the floor for that group, That's how you get on the court, because we're not seeing a bunch of anything else out there. But nonetheless, we want to commend AJ Lawson for a good summer league. And if we want to talk about a really good summer league that's still continuing right now, Scottie Pippen Jr., who I keep saying I think he could be borderline backup point guard in the NBA, but for sure like your reserve point guard at this point. I think he just needs to be a standard NBA name at this point. Dropped a triple-double today to send the Grizzlies to the championship game. Very, very cool in that sense. The assists per game, is he leading in assists per games right now? No, it's actually Rob Dillingham. Really? See, this is why I need these rankings and stuff. I switched it to the top 5. We could actually expand it if we really, really wanted to, but I was curious nonetheless. That's really interesting. Like, Oliver Maxence Prosper, like, when did he get into the points per game leader? See, this is why you got to take a look at those things sometimes, just to kind of find it. But the steals per game, really, really high as well. And given he played a lot of NBA minutes last year, so it's no surprise that he's kind of able to maybe cook these guys just a little bit more. But I've been really, really impressed with his performance. Speaking of Grizzlies dudes, we've got rookie Jalen Wells, who putting up pretty similar numbers, all said and done, at least in like the efficiency department. Both of them getting to the free throw line a good amount considering how much they've had the ball. So that's really good to see. Jalen Wells, 6'8", kind of wing, second-round pick for the Grizzlies, hoping that he can maybe somehow crack the rotation, because the Grizzlies' like bench unit is a little bit up in the air right now, especially now that Zaire Williams is gone, so maybe he's trying to work his way in. Nothing crazy to look at here, but impressive summer league nonetheless. Jordan Miller continues to absolutely torch for the Clippers. I know he had another like high 20s point game. 25.4 points per game is nuts on crazy efficiency. 50, 60, 80, like we'll take that. 46 free throw attempts again. That's really, really impressive. Is he going to find his way into the rotation for the Clippers? Hard to say. The Clippers just have so many guys kind of at that position already, but maybe they'll accept the rebuild at some point. Maybe we'll get to see some of them. I don't know, but we have another Miller to talk about here. Timberwolves' second-round pick from a couple years ago, 1 year ago. Was he a rookie last year? I can't remember, but Leonard Miller, he's kind of a quirky player for me to watch. Like, something about his game is just a little bit quirky, but he has been playing pretty well as of like getting up to 16 points a game, getting 8 rebounds. He's mostly been playing the center. I feel like that's not the position they necessarily want him to play, but that's going to be a summer league position. You were probably hoping that the three-point shot kind of came around if he was going to try to make his way onto the court as like a 4. Some people have even said he might be a 3 at points, but without the three-point shot this year, it's going to be hard for him to crack the rotation, but especially with guys like Terrence Shannon that I think are going to command some pretty high minutes pretty early kind of at those spots, but nonetheless kind of interesting. I'll continue to talk about like Jay Huff, who I just think is a good player for the Magic's summer league team. Probably one of the only bigs you're really seeing get talked about besides maybe like Khalil Ware or something like that, but I think Jay Huff should be on a standard NBA contract. I think he can be a nice reserve big. I think he's athletic enough. I think he's smart enough. I think he's a decent enough finisher around the rim. I don't know if you're necessarily going to get like the elite rebounding, shot blocking or anything like that, but I think in terms of a big body that knows where to be on the court in a market that's pretty thin, I like him a lot. A name we haven't said much recently, Theo Maledon, a French player, I believe he is. Like, he was kind of one of those players when he got drafted a couple years ago that he was kind of a big mystery man, and there was a couple points where he got on the court for the Thunder, and you're like, okay, there's something kind of here. He's at least like a smart player, a pretty solid defender, all said and done. Hasn't gotten a ton of burden in summer league, but I just wanted to acknowledge, like, he was out on the court, shot 50%, 50%, 100% here. Got you 5 assists a game when he was out there, so I don't know. Is he going to kill it in the G League this year? Maybe. Josh Christopher makes this list for the second video in the row. Continues to kind of thrive in the fast-paced summer league style offense, which doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Do I think he's going to get like a real like standard NBA shot this year? Probably not, and that's probably not even due to necessarily basketball reasons. While people still have questions about that, it's there's some other questions as well. But then Khalil Ware again, another rookie that's just kind of making waves and looking really impressive, looking very engaged on the court, which is good to see. You'd obviously like to see some of these percentages going up, but I can't stress enough that we don't care about these percentages. We just don't. It's summer league for a reason. We just want them getting the shots up. I'm glad he got 31 free throw attempts. I'm glad he got some three-pointers up. I mean, hell, if we made 5 of these, all of a sudden we're at average, right? So if he made 2 more of them, what happens if he makes 1 more? We're at 28% still. Yeah, so if he makes 2 more of them, all of a sudden we're good, right? And you're feeling really, really solid about him. But again, I wouldn't care either way, right? We want to acknowledge what we can. Khalil Ware looked good out there. He looked good defensively. There was a couple times where he jumped a bit too early. He's a little block happy. He's young, totally fine. He's going to be able to contribute for the Heat right away. Shout out to Miami Heat. Taking a look at the rookie report, I decided just to go and sort it by points per game again over here, just so we could kind of take a final look at things going into kind of this last game that'll take place tomorrow. Yeah, we see Reed Shepherd finished the Summer League tops in points per game. The efficiency wasn't necessarily great. Overall, it wasn't that bad. The three-point shot probably could have fallen a little bit more. He took a couple like deep ones that maybe he wants back or something, but nonetheless, he had a really, really impressive performance. We feel good about him going into things. Maybe not as a pure ball handler yet, but as a nice like combo guard that can handle it sometimes. So that's kind of what I figured he'd kind of be in the NBA. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Ron Holland had a great end to Summer League today. He finished second, which is very, very cool to see. You still saw some of the decision making being a little bit off at times, more so in shot selection, not necessarily turnovers. So while the percentages weren't great, that is kind of what we expected. He kept the turnovers low, which is good, and he was active around the glass. Absolutely take that, and I'm not going to go over every single guy, just kind of noting. Then you get into a couple of the older guys here and like Connect, Khalil Ware, Tristan Da Silva. Khalil Ware is sophomore, so take it as you will, but some of the higher pace guys there, with Tristan Da Silva being like the peak of efficiency probably amongst all rookies. Like he just looked like a pro out there, right? And that makes a lot of sense. So how high is his ceiling? Hard to necessarily say, but hopefully he'll be able to bring some of that floor spacing to Orlando this year. You get into the AJ Mitchells, Buzelis, Jalen Tyson, all interesting guys. AJ Mitchell, honestly, like I should probably give him a little bit more credit. He was pretty efficient throughout all of Summer League, so that's cool to see. Buzelis, kind of all over the place at sometimes, but we like the aggressiveness nonetheless. We already kind of talked about Jalen Tyson. I thought Reese Shea in his 2 games looked good. Then we kind of got into the second round picks here, like Jalen Wells, Furphy, Cam Spencer. Cool to see. Carlton Carrington, Bub Carrington had some nice performances overall. Rob Dillingham kind of creeped up here in this last night, got back up to the 13.6. Efficiency wasn't there, but that's what we anticipate out of this young point guard. I'm not surprised to say the least. The assists per game were crazy, even though the turnovers were really high as well. Probably should have commented on Reed Shepherd's turnovers again. That's why I kind of alluded to the fact that I'm like, don't know if I trust him being a ball handler necessarily yet. I see him being an off-ball guard, so that's what I think of him at the end of the day. You get into the Terrence Shannons, who like they kind of started to, it seems like, reduce his role a little bit after the first game. They're like, okay, I think he's going to be pretty good to go. And I saw a really smart comment of somebody saying like, yeah, I think out of everyone else in like Summer League, Terrence Shannon Jr. was the one that we knew was drafted way too low, and we know why he was drafted way too low. So makes sense. Not too interested in talking about like Dylan Jones. I've gone pretty deep through most of these videos, so go back and watch those. Like Jared McCain kind of falls into the same place as like a Jacoby Walter, right? Where it's kind of like, they've been kind of all over the place. Deron Holmes was the absolute like tragedy of Summer League, whereas he played so good in a little bit. He was out there, and then the Nuggets lost him for the season. Man, he would have been a good one. Kyle Filipowski salvaged himself a little bit tonight, at least in like the points department, because he was a lot lower, and he finished with like 26 on pretty poor efficiency though. But tonight, so not somebody I'm necessarily all that high on. I think he plays kind of soft in all honesty, so I guess we'll see with him. Cody Williams had a rough start but kind of picked it up towards the end. Zach Edey was just kind of out there for a little bit, and then he got pulled due to some injuries. Keyshawn George, if he would have had like a little bit more like shot attempts, that would have been kind of cool to see. He wasn't doing a ton else on the court. One of the things that we saw out of him in college was that he had the ball quite a bit, and when he had the ball in this and he wasn't operating as like more of a catch and shoot dude, he was pretty rough, and that's where you see the assists get a little bit higher. It's not like a crazy amount for Summer League, but it wasn't good to say the least. To John Salon, obviously he was a higher draft pick. We see him and Klingon down here. Klingon struggled throughout most of Summer League. Defensively, he looked a lot better than offensively. These percentages obviously are a lot higher than his first couple Summer League games, just because he was really rough in the first couple, and then he kind of started to figure it out a little bit more. He obviously led in blocks. I believe, was he the leader of blocks for all of Summer League? Yeah, it was Klingon. And as I keep saying, people just kind of kept running into him because they're trying to make roster spots. They're trying to attack the rim as mercilessly as possible. Looking at some of these other ones, not too interested in any of these. I wish Yves Missy would have played maybe like a little bit better, but it's kind of hard on the team that it was. Bronny James, we've kind of hammered that one to death, so we don't need to go into it anymore. Ryan Dunn was the one that I was surprised didn't play a little bit better, and then there's Alex Sarr, because the rest of these, like, you maybe expect them to be a little lower. Would have thought Mogbo would have gotten a little bit more burn when he was on the court, but yeah, Alex Sarr had a rough Summer League. Whatever, right? Whatever. It's not a big deal at the end of the day. He got out there. Hopefully the Wizards don't ruin him, man, because I think he already looks, at least in Summer League, defensively, he gets it. And some of the things he did out there and some of his rotations and the fact that he was switching 1 through 5 and dropping back down to protect the rim, things like that, gets me super excited as a coach. Because that's what I figured, right? It's like, okay, I'm not drafting this guy to go get me 15, 16 points a game as a rookie. Like, he's clearly not much of a creator. He's actually pretty good in transition for his size when you watch him get out and move. But it's like, we all knew he wasn't a creator. He's a defensive player, right? And so I think we saw what we should have seen out of him, and him trying to create his own shot in Summer League just didn't really work. Is Washington going to have the personnel to set him up? Hopefully with Brogdon and Bub, they can kind of get something going. I'm a little bit hesitant to believe that, but hopefully he'll at least improve them defensively, because I don't see why they wouldn't start him and then bring Valanciunas off the bench. I think that'd be kind of weird if they started Valanciunas personally, but the Wizards have done far weirder things, like trade Denny Advia as soon as he started to get really good, but that's not my place to talk about it. Okay, where do we go from here? So I don't need to do a whole video covering the like championship game of Summer League, because who do we have? Was it the Heat that were going all the way to the championship game tomorrow to go up against Memphis? Yeah. Okay, so we've got Heat Grizzlies here. Probably be a solid game. Give it a watch. A Khalil wherever. Scottie Pippen Jr. I wonder if they'll even let Gigi Jackson like play in this one, and like Laravia and all those guys, because the Grizzlies have quite a few of their like actual like roster guys on there. So makes a ton of sense. I don't think we're going to see a Jaime Jaquez for the Heat out there. It's probably just not necessary. But what I will do once this is over is I'll put out like a tier list or a tier ranking video for all of how the rookies played throughout Summer League, so we'll do something like that. I think that could be a fun video to do. Then we're starting to get prepped for like Olympic basketball, and then we're gonna start getting ready for like some other like little coverages here and there. This is the slow season for the basketball season, so you're not seeing me put out quite as many videos, but as I keep telling you guys, I've got a really good like what do we even call them, like preseason preview, NBA season preview for each team, kind of like how we did with Ideal Offseason. Ideal Offseason was obviously my big success series that I had. Big success, probably quote unquote, is a bit of a generous term, but we'll be kind of doing something similar to that going into the season, and I think that one's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to take a lot of work for me, especially because I'm getting married at that time, so I'm going to have to pre-record some stuff, get it out. We'll see what happens, but hey, I just want to say I appreciate you guys for watching. As always, those of you, my sweats that are still watching at this point of the season, you guys are the NBA sickos, and I'm happy to be here with you. But seriously, thanks so much as always for watching, you guys, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.